All right, so every now and then, your body will start to get into this place where it doesn't want to lose weight, right? So this is a couple weight loss strategies to help you break through a weight loss plateau. And here are some of the big things that happen, right? So did you hit a plateau? How can you get the scale moving again? So before you get into these specifics, it's important to make sure that you actually need to troubleshoot your weight loss. Generally, when people think about, they hit a weight loss plateau, they're thinking about their weight. But here are some truths about the scale. Because our body weights change and shift so much from day to day, the scale is a horrible maker of a short-term change. Depending on your body size, you can expect a 4 to pound swing up or down on the scale on a day-to-day. Having more or fewer carbs or salt one day can cause significant shifts in your weight as well. The problem with the scale is that you don't know what is causing the scale to move. Is it water? Is it muscle? Is it fat? But here's how weight is lost. So weight isn't lost in a linear fashion. Weight goes up and down day to day, and even from one week to the next. But over the long term, it does go down. This is one of the reasons why consistently measuring your weight is a good idea if you cannot pay attention to the day-to-day variant. So why does your body plateau? What causes this extra metabolic down regulation? It could be due to one of more things. The most common, hypothesis regarding weight loss and plateau are below. So one, changes in your body weight. As we discussed, your metabolic rate is closely related to your body size. So if you decrease your body size, your metabolic rate decreases. Two, changes in your thyroid. Your thyroid is the organ in your body that plays a major role in controlling your metabolic rate. So eating less or moving less can lead to your thyroid slowing down, in turn slowing down your metabolic rate. Your body weight has a set point. This is a phenomenon that many scientists believe is a primary contributor to weight loss plateaus. The idea is that your body has a set point that it likes to maintain, plus or minus a couple pounds. Your body resist change would take you out of the set point. It isn't impossible to move away from your current body weight set point. It just takes some persistence, right? So this is where we do some troubleshooting, right? So when you're troubleshooting some weight loss problems, it's like to break down into two different categories. Either things are not responding or not doing. So not responding is a problem rooted in physiology like adaptive thermogenesis. Not doing is an application issue, something related to our action goals or similar behavior that we are not doing. Adherence. The first big not doing is adherence. You think you are following your nutrition and training program, so it should be working, but it isn't working. This can be a huge source of frustration for many people. What's happening oftentimes is that you aren't actually following your plan as well as you think. And so what we mean by that is, it might be just the way you're measuring. It might be you're using a different source of food than what is on paper for you. There's a lot of different things when it comes to adherence. But 9 times out of 10, if you're following exactly what the rest of your dietitian has in front of you, you should be losing weight, right? Not responding. So now let's shift to not responding. Part of your weight loss troubleshooting, you only want to start looking at these factors if you've already been doing the thing to cover the not doing section. And you have not experienced any weight loss progress in the last 2 weeks or longer. So this is what I mean by not responding. First one is sleep. The next not doing troubleshoot is sleep. So, I know that's not your average fat loss tip, but sleep is the majority underrated key to fat loss. The best part about sleep is that, unlike most nutrient-related changes, which involve restriction and doing things that might not want to, to do, sleep is something that you want. I mean, who doesn't want to sleep more, right? And so the idea of, making sure that you secure your sleep is that it helps regulate a lot of your hormones, especially a lot of those hormones that help regulate your metabolism, as well as other fat burning, properties that, over time, if you're depriving yourself of sleep, your body's going to start taking those things away, right? So some ways that you can control some of your calories is controlling excess fat. So the lowest hanging fruit, in a sense, is excess fat. So for a long time, low-fat diets were the rage. Now, with the pro-fat pendulum has swung back almost a little too far to the point where we've lost appreciation that dietary fat contains a lot of calories. So breaking it down, right? So you have a carbohydrate and a protein. Both of those per gram have 4 calories. If you look at a fat, there's 9 calories per gram. So essentially, you can eat a gram of protein, a gram of carbohydrate, and still not even equal up to 1 gram of fat, right? So here are some ways that you can control some of your excess fat. Making sure that you're trimming some of the external visible fat that are on meats, removing skin on chicken before cooking, making sure that you're measuring oils if you are cooking with those. So 1 to 2 teaspoons of oil is sufficient when cooking a meal. Free pouring oil always leads to adding in more than you think, right? Are you measuring nuts before eating them? Are you limiting yourself to 1 serving per sitting? I know for me, like sometimes I'll just grab a whole handful of nuts, right? And that's kind of what the next point is here. 1 handful is a very generalized measurement that can range from 1/4 cup to 1 cup. 1 serving of nuts is, 1/4 of a cup, right? So you want to make sure that you portion, accordingly to these excess calories. So, which goes into the next point here, is cutting calories via carbohydrates. So the second tweak that you can do is reduce your carbohydrate-rich foods that you're eating. This will not only cut your total carb intake, you'll also reduce your calorie intake. It's important that you do this smartly so that it doesn't leave you really hungry. And so what we mean by that is that there's hierarchy of carbohydrates, right? Some carbohydrates you ingest real quick, and it spikes your bloodstream, and some of them, it takes a really long time for you to digest, right? And there's a whole nother training on that I'm going to be going over. But essentially, you want to make sure that if you are going to be cutting carbohydrates, try to cut the ones that are fast-acting first, ones that have higher amounts of sugar, essentially, right? The next part is moving the needle. So the last aspect that we want to cover today has to do with movement. So up until this point, we've talked about some of the non-responding section. We focus simply on ways to create a greater calorie deficit, to restart your weight loss through reducing some number of calories that we're consuming. The other side of this energy balance equation is where we want to make sure that we're burning more calories. So going back to week 1. So we're not going to talk about exercise activity, but we're actually going to talk about something that's a little different, right? So this activity that we're talking about is kind of the movements of life. So scientists, they call this NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's pretty much a mouthful, but basically what we're saying is that these NEAT movements are your daily movements of life, right? So we don't need to be hung up on things like 7,000 versus 10,000 steps. The key is to do more, to increase your overall activity, leading to more overall active life. It can be, a 350 calorie difference, right? So what I'm talking about on, not just surface level here, it may seem a little cliche, but it's wildly effective. So here are some examples of that. Simple things like instead of, when you are at work or anywhere, there's the elevator, take the stairs. Taking the stairs versus the escalator, all in all, really only 2% of people actually do that. Park at the far end of, somewhere and walk. If you can, walk or bike places instead of driving. Take phone meetings instead of sitting at your desk, walk around with them. I'm a pacer when I'm on the phone. I'm always walking. And that's kind of what I'm talking about there on the bottom there is making sure that you're walking around.